one bite of 100% Angus beef ballpark frank, and you'll say... Hello, summer. Oh yeah, it's ballpark season.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Oh yeah, that's nice.
Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless.
Pick something we all like. Okay.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember. They can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft.
Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more. But it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High-quality cigars plus personal customer service with Slow Burn. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. It's more than a mobile lounge. It's an environment and an experience rich in history, luxury, and personality. An elegant extension of any celebration occasion. It's the perfect escape and meeting place, a space where you can relax or enjoy a shared passion. Have Slow Burn plan your next big event, or before you are planning to celebrate your win over your athletic rival, you can shop our collections at www.slowburnwaco.com.
But if they want to tap, I'ma do the dab, yeah.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
That's a pretty tight spot.
Watch this.
Of course you're...
For life. Because at the heart of every Buick SUV is you.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplify Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplify Development Services.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Yeah.
I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington. Charles Bishop is out on assignment. I think he's with the pregame show. I'm not sure. He said he came back to Miami, but I don't know if he went back down there. I'm confused about what's going on. Or was he actually filming from Miami still and he just having extra time? We have Brian Fulford coming in off of Brian and AD, as you know, sports rap. And then we have the breaking news. GCAC Commissioner, Dr. Kiki Baker-Barnes. We're going to get in the interview and break down this breaking news. But with that said, I want to say welcome to episode 302 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports, from our institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. And we'll talk about today. We like to call it the HBCU sports pedagogy, for those that are not familiar with that. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta, along with my co-host, as I said, Mike Washington. Filling in today is none other than Professor Fulford. Can't call him an adjunct, not quite clinical. We just say visiting professor. Then we got Dr. Kiki Baker-Barnes, and she's that guest lecturer you have in your class. And I bring that up today because I happen to be in Austin. Yes, I'm not in Houston, so I can't give my proverbial filming from our home studios. They are, but I'm not. We got Kiki Baker-Barnes from another home that she'll talk a little bit about as we get in this interview. But I'm at the University of Texas. I was brought in as a guest lecturer today to talk about HBCU sports, the Dion effect. So you'll see some photos that give you some updates on what that is. So shout out to my folks over here, if you would, in terms of University of Texas, including Dr. Leonard Moore. Shout out in terms of, this is one of his books that he broke down in terms of, let me do that appropriately, take the time on it, The Defeat of the Black Power. This is by Dr. Leonard Moore. So we do it like that in the academy. Dr. Kiki Baker-Barnes knows a little bit, but she does on the other side as athletic director. Now, that was previous of Dillard. Now she's full-time commissioner of the entire thing, Gulf Coast Athletic Conference. How you doing today, Dr. Kiki Baker-Barnes?
I am doing great, and I am so excited to have the first interview post the announcement in the official GCAC headquarters right here on the Sports Lab.
That's right. That's what we do. We do that in the HBC Sports Lab. Inside this lab, we cook it up and we make sure that y'all get the first on many occasions. Now, there's other folks out there, they do the first sometimes, but oftentimes we the first. I'm not going to do that. Let me ask you, Mike, how you doing today?
I'm good, Doc. I mean, let me be the first to say also congratulations to you, Dr. Barnes, and to you, Doc, as my buddy, compadre, former roommate, all that, frat brother, whatever. Congratulations you on as well on your accolades as well. So I'm just happy to be here. And Dr. Barnes, I'm just gonna say, if I get out of hand, he will cut my mic off. So,
say, man, I appreciate you. I hope I made my players father proud.
He puts me on mute.
Wait a minute, too far. My fault. But yeah, I will drop the mic on and put him on mute because sometimes it gets out of hand. That's a whole different discussion. We're gonna behave today. With that, again, we got Brian Fulford. Big time Brian Fulford going down there. I ain't gonna do you like everybody else ask you if you're okay, but I guess I am gonna ask. Are you okay?
I'm moving on. I'm on to Albany State, Doc. I'm on to Albany State.
That's smart. That's smart. It is Thursday. It's like how long? Yeah, you're right. On to the next week.
I'm on to the next.
So let's get into the serious business here with Dr. Kiki Baker-Barnes, GCAC. Gulf Coast Athletic Conference signed a media rights deal with Urban Edge Network. For those that have been asleep, that is a streaming service that will carry live GCAC contests and conference championships courtesy of the HBCU Game Day. There were some other announcements. I believe you're in the facility that is now the home to the GCAC.
Yes, sir.
Right. So talk a little bit about that. Let's just start right there since you're there and you have that great image in the background. Talk a little bit about the new home of Gulf Coast Athletic Conference.
So it was actually, yesterday was just such a surreal moment. It was such a great time. We had great energy in the space. We were able to bring together all of the partners who are invested in wanting to see HBCU survive and do well. I'll give you the backstory. As we were having the conversations with Urban Edge about what this partnership could look like, and we were going through with navigating what that would look like. I'm sitting up thinking like, okay, this particular partnership is going to give us more flexibility. We can find now a home to kind of solidify that the GCAC is no longer this part-time thing that is kind of operating a half a AD, half a commissioner. Like, this is now a full-time entity that the Council of Presidents has decided that they want to see grow and thrive. And while it was extremely convenient to get up out of my bed and to walk downstairs into my home office, the question was, does it really align with the direction that the Council of Presidents has now decided we're going to move? So the partnership, as we're discussing and we're seeing that, okay, we're going to see funds that will now be coming to the conference because of this particular relationship. This can now afford us to find a space. Now, the second question was, okay, what can we afford now? We want a nice space, but we can't buy a building yet, right? We only have one employee.
We're going to help you with that. We're going to make sure you get some additional employees.
We're going to get that. So the question was, where can we find a space? So there were several spaces here in New Orleans, co-working spaces, and I visited a couple. One was actually across the street from the Superdome. And so initially I was like, yeah, we could be on Poitras right across from the Superdome. Sunbelt Conference is located in the Superdome. So I felt like, that might work, but the spacing didn't work for what I needed. So I was kind of, let me keep looking. So there was another space across from the World War II, another co-working space across from the World War II Museum. When I got there, they said they had sold their last office space. So there was basically no room in the inn, like the Bible say, right? So I circled back to Maroon. Maroon was on my list because it's Black-owned. It's Black-owned, founded by Jade Brown Russell. She is a Howard University alum, attorney, and they had just opened this spot maybe about a month ago. They did kind of a grand, they hosted the Essence Leadership here. And I said, you know what? Based on what they're doing, their business was created to offer a space for Black-owned businesses, small business who are looking to get started and elevate their business, as well as being able to collaborate with other people who are trying to do the same work. This seems like this may be aligned with who we are and where we're trying to go. So I walk in, I see them because I know Jade. We know each other. I see her assistant and I tell them, here's what we're trying to do. There was one office space left.
Wow.
And I said, sign us up.
Yep.
This is going to be our home. We are a conference of 8 HBCUs. We have to be aligned. We have to be in community, and we have to work together to support one another. Knowing that we were getting closer and closer to signing our relationship with Urban Edge, it's all alignment. And so yesterday was just this opportunity to have everybody in the same space and to say, here's who we are, Here's what we're committed to doing. And for those who are in attendance or watching online, we're going to ask you to participate and become a part of that process as we change the game, as we transform how we do this work for our institutions. So we now have an official headquarters and an office. We have space like this conference room where I'm seated, where I can come here and I can host meetings, and we can host receptions and press conferences in a professional way, because that's important. How we present ourselves is really important. And so I felt like this is the direction. No, I'm gonna say it like we would say on Star Wars. This is the way.
Great deal. And so I just want, for clarity, this is the Urban Edge Network with this partnership. For those that haven't already, make sure you download HBCU League Pass.
Yes.
The report that I'm talking about is coming from HBCU Sports and HBCUsports.com from the media release that was put out there. Let me go to you.
That's Ken, huh? That's Ken's platform.
Yeah, it's Ken's platform.
Thanks, Ken.
Yeah, he put it out there. Showing much love. Let me go to you, Mike. Ask the follow-up question.
Yeah, thank you for giving all of that background. I mean, if you go to the GCAC website, and it's clear as day, GCAC finds new home at Maroon Space. But your quote, Maroon is a critical juncture as we look to become an ally of community. And you list all those communities that come together. We often say it takes a village, but can you take me through the process of all of those villages that you eloquently, say in your statement, advocates, experts, organizations? What was the glue that brought all of those organizations together?
So if I'm correct, I think that's actually that's part of Maroon's mission statement.
Yeah.
And so looking at their mission, so actually that was what they said they wanted to do. And in some of the work that they've done, the founder also has does equity, diversity, and inclusion work. She's been very involved on the ground with issues here in the city. Her CEO happens to be her sister, was an educator in the New Orleans public school system. So you have two people we've got one who's been in business, we have one who's done all the education, and they're talking to these different communities, and we're seeing where the gaps are. And so it just makes sense. They decide we're going to create a solution, right? We're going to create a space. We're going to figure out how to get the right people in the room, at the table, to help move our communities forward. And so kudos to them. Let me just say that. Kudos to them for understanding this from a larger perspective, thinking about this from a bird's eye view. And again, so now we have a space where we could connect with people. I had my first visitor today. I wasn't expecting a visitor today, but I had my first visitor today. I was like, man, word travels fast, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
But it was a local colleague, Ro Brown, who happens to be he just got inducted, I think, into the Greater New Orleans Sports Hall of Fame, either that one or the Louisiana Sport Hall of Fame. But he's a media guy. Ro's been around. He's covered everything. He's that guy. So Ro is like, yeah, Kiki, we got to talk about this. We've got to talk about what we're doing. And so that's kind of how we got there.
Awesome.
That's pretty great. Brian, go ahead and follow up with your question, please.
Well, definitely congratulations, Dr. Barnes, to you and everybody with the GCAC. So I guess one of my first questions or thoughts had to come up with, I noticed via social media, you and your leadership team, or I guess I really should say a lot of the athletic directors and I think it was coaches, administrators. It seemed to be a great conference that you all kind of got together and really had a chance to, it seemed like, plan out the upcoming year. Talk a little bit about how that summit, I'm going to call it a summit, during this summer, how that helped, and maybe in what ways did it help with choosing to go this route, working with UEN?
So I'll tell you what we've been having, I would say, probably literally for the last 2 years, the conversation amongst the membership, meaning my athletic directors, my coaches, has been around what it would look like if we could find the right partner. What is it that we can monetize? What are the things we need to do better to position ourselves as a conference to be attractive to a media rights partner? And so I will say that the thing that has been most fun about this has been working collaboratively alongside my colleagues. Yesterday, I remember initially everybody wasn't planning to attend the press conference. And I was like, guys and ladies, like we worked for the last 2 years. There was a point where people didn't think the GCAC was going to survive. And we have weathered that storm, and we are now in position to rise like the phoenix, right? I was like, you have to be here. It's not about me. I'm just the leader. I'm a conduit. This is what we have worked together to build. And so how could we have a moment like yesterday and they not there to celebrate, right? It just didn't seem right. So during our conference meetings in July, that was our opportunity. I had an opportunity to put the different proposals and things that were coming forth. That's where we had the opportunity to really finally vet everything, make sure there aren't any other questions or there any other concerns about what we're trying to do. Are we all aligned with making this move? Is this the direction we still want to go? And so we use the summit, quote unquote, we use the summit to reinforce our commitment to move as a collective and as one. These kinds of things don't work when you don't have everybody committed to going in the same direction. So it was our check-in. It was, okay, here's what we've been talking about. Now we got something at the table. Are you good? Are we good? Everybody says we're good, and then we move forward. And so that's what our summit did for us this summer. We also had the opportunity, you said you saw, I'm so glad you saw some of the videos. We had an opportunity to work with the Wallace Media Group. They were the ones who helped us. Scott Wallace was the former SID at Fisk, and he and his wife, they have a team. They were able to do the content for us. So they conducted all the interviews where we started talking about who we are. We're going to have new awards. I can't wait till y'all see our new trophies this year. Our kids will be blinging. Like when it comes to the experience for the student athletes, let me tell you, like what they're going to receive is going to be bananas, right? So we got a chance to kind of just show the coaches like, okay, this is what we're thinking about, what you think, and to get their reflections on how we're moving. And so I thought it was so cool to be able to have that opportunity during the summit to get feedback from the coaches, for them to talk about. I remember seeing a lot of chatter about media day. So we've never had a media day, right? We haven't been in position to do that. But what we were in position to do was kind of start getting them prepared. Like we're going to be doing interviews next year. So you need to be prepared for that. So they got a chance to get some practice to me for their next level if their desire is to move. And again, for us to tell our story and move forward. So the summit was a lot of fun, quote. And I hope that we can continue to do the work, to be committed to making changes that will help our universities grow and thrive.
Outstanding. Outstanding.
During this press conference where a lot of this came out, I know from the press release, it talks about that the GCAC had inked the largest media rights deal in NAIA history, which is significant for the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference in any conference when you do it at that level. And obviously they'll be broadcast on the championship games on HBCU League Pass Plus. Again, people can download that, make sure. Also talked about the amplification of social media platform of GCAC on the Black Star Network, which is Roland Martin is the CEO. Yeah. And I know doing it, they talked about the deal is at $1.2 million. Mm-hmm. Is there a length in terms of this deal associated with it?
Yeah, so we're in a 5-year deal with Urban Edge Network.
Congratulations in terms of length of the deal. Right. I know also there was talk in regards to a sponsorship for the championships. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So y'all, when I tell you it was unbelievable, it was just so unbelievable to be able to announce our partnership. Hope Federal Credit Union actually is the largest Black and woman-owned credit union in the country. Bill Bynum, the CEO, we had an opportunity to connect with him. Alvin Franklin, who has offered us some support, was the one who did the initial reach out to him to say, hey, I'm talking to the commissioner. I think this could be a great opportunity for us. So I want to connect you all. So he did some initial conversations, connected us. And Bill said, here's what I want to do. Here are the communities I'm in. And I mean, they have branches in every space where we have a school and have already had some existing partnerships with some of the members. So it made sense. Again, the alignment, it made so much sense for us to have a partner that's going to invest in our conference as now our official financial institution. So our accounts for the conference will be with them, as well as providing us with advice. We can't have all this money coming in and now we mismanage it, right?
Right.
We don't want to be now we got all the money and we just bleed it, and then like 5 years later, it's like, what happened to all that money? Y'all. So you have to have support in that kind of space. So when we talked about what our needs would look like as we're growing now, you just want to have a good partner. And Bill has done the work. He's got the relationships. He is invested, and Hope is invested in our communities. And I remember at our dinner, I love the analogy used. He said, people talk about going hard in the paint. He said, I do that. This is what we do. We understand who we are and we find a way to make it happen for our people. So again, as we're talking about alignment, moving as a collective, it just made sense. So Hope Credit Union now will serve as our official financial institution for the conference, but also our title sponsor for the men and women's basketball championships and the baseball championship.
Man, that's powerful. Last question I have for you, I think that is unique about this deal that you haven't necessarily seen with more quote unquote traditional deals. And the only way I use traditional is the fact we're not used to it, which is not only are you going to be covering football, basketball, baseball, tennis, swimming, golf, track and field. And I do want to note that baseball, as you put out there, is going to be an additional sport in the GCAC, which is new, which I think is extremely exciting. In terms of that this will also allow the institutions to have TV shows, which can bring in the academic side of the house. As an academician of myself, I'm excited to hear that.
Absolutely.
But HBCU marching bands, as everybody knows, is significant. Yeah. There's a component of that. And then you have even the emerging sports of e-sport tournaments, podcasts that can exist and more in terms of that. So, final question here is just to kind of talk about how do you leverage this and why is this so important in terms of how it can impact the HBCU members of the GCAC?
Well, it's so funny because I love watching the commentary around HBCUs and everybody, well, we gonna get our cut. We want our fair share. And I think we have the opportunity now to look at this a little bit differently. And again, we've had the conversations around monetizing content, but not necessarily a framework or someone to help us walk through that process. What Urban Edge Network does for us is give us that representation. We haven't had that representation. We haven't even had the knowledge. And I'll quote one of my favorite Bible scriptures. We perish because we don't have vision and we lack knowledge. That's what the Bible says. So there are things and there are ways we have moved because it's all we knew at the end of the day. And so as we've had the opportunity to grow, as we've had African Americans and other minorities get into spaces that we were never allowed into, then you're opened up to a whole new, oh, I didn't know this is what they were doing over here. Now it's how do I take that back and how do I help make a difference in the space now that I have the knowledge? That's what I feel like Urban Edge does for us. There was knowledge. There were things we were never at the table. We weren't ever in the game. We had no idea. But now we know, and now we have an opportunity to do something about it. And so let's partner, let's work together to make a difference and where everybody wins, right? Not just one or two people. We have the schools that get everything and everybody else, but what do we do for the least of them? What do we do for the least? and that's some churchy stuff now. Understand? I'm the child.
Spoken in his words.
I'm a child of a Baptist preacher.
Yes. Tracy, you don't have to hide it here. So it's certainly appreciated that you bring your whole self with you in terms of what that looks in your leadership. Last thing I talk about, and I know you can't necessarily get to it, but I imagine that conference churning, as I like to call it, other people talk about expansion. I'm sure it doesn't stop here, in that this type of news makes it easier for you to go look at institutions that may seek to partner with the league.
Absolutely. We definitely hope that this will open up opportunities for us to have some conversations with schools about what we can bring to the table. And maybe what I haven't shared, and I want to say this, is we are having a revenue share in this partnership. So not only what we signed on for, meaning what they're paying us on the front end, but anything else that they bring, we're getting a percentage of that. So that percentage of what we're able to, generate each year, for the first time ever for us. And I don't know what happens in other NAIA conferences, so I can't say what someone is or not doing. We're going to be able to give back to the schools. So it's not, I need revenue, because I need y'all to pay my salary, or we need you to pay for this space. It's, we have enough that we can share.
That's huge, because I don't know if people understand the cost of putting together a championship tournament for various points. So to your point, when you get to a point where you flip that and the championships are paying for themselves and you're able to distribute money back to your institution, that's significant at any conference level. And as you talk about the NAIA, in a lot of ways, that's differential in terms of what is happening at the NAIA, some NCAA Division II levels, to be frank with you, and even at some FCS level that I'm aware of.
Yeah. So, and it's the money that we generated. That's the other piece. We, from our own content, that's a whole, it's a space we haven't been in.
Yeah, it's a different ball game, and it changes the ball game. Well, I want to thank you for your time. I know you have a very busy schedule, and we're going to up to our first break in here, but wanted to make sure you have a platform to share this significant news. And so I want to say thank you for your time and congratulations, and continue to do the things that you've always done previously at Dillard, and for women that are interested in athletics. I want to talk and applaud you for that space. And now in terms of the leadership role as the commissioner of the GCAC, the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference, for those that may not understand the acronym. Thank you for your time. We'll be right back with Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Coming to us, joining us today is Brian Fulford, and hope you enjoyed the interview with the commissioner, Dr. Kiki Baker Barnes of the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference, talking about the new Urban Edge Network deal with the GCAC as they will be shared live on the HBCU League Pass Plus. Download it now. We'll be right back after this break.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Now, you can't live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant-quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Vanilla smoked sea salt seasoning is for seafood. The tarragon and fennel bring out the natural sweetness in seafood. I also use it in rice dishes, on yams, asparagus, blueberry pancakes, and believe it or not, chocolate chip cookies. Vanilla smoked sea salt adds a salty and savory component to sweet dishes that create a symphony for the tongue.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em. It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm. Hello, cream bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
Bounty versus the old
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Hope you enjoyed the interview with the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference Commissioner, Dr. Kiki Baker-Barnes. I want to give you an update for the marching sports. We're going to do an abbreviated version today, so I'm not going to get the updates and their thoughts on it. They might jump in and say a thing here or two. We're going to get right to it because we're going to give you a full breakdown of the games of the week that we have for this week coming up. The second version of those games of the CIAA, SIAC, MEAC, and SWAC. At number 10, North Carolina Central Sound Band Marching Machine, as you know, down there, they went 1-0. They defeated A&T. So A&T is off to a tough start this year. They went to the National HBCU and did not get a win there. And now, not only did the team lose the game, many people out there said that North Carolina Central Marching Machine got it done and defeated A&T in that. So A&T drops out of the poll rankings this week.
Aggie pride.
In terms of that. So did Marching 100. They got it done last year, but they not only did they lose the football game, but they got it done. They went out, couldn't even get back into the stands. They said Jackson State, the sound, right? Jackson State, the Sonic Boom of the South was playing their songs. It was a tough weekend for FAMU. I believe it is that.
Tough loss on all fronts.
Yeah, it was tough. Howard, the Showtime Marching Band, redeemed themselves after losing in the MEAC SWAC Challenge and got it done against Howard Hampton. They lost the game, but they won the halftime.
They still didn't get the U back.
On the season. Yeah, Edward Waters Marching Machine still in at number 8. They moved down a spot as they did not perform. Bringing us to number 7, you have Alcorn State, the Sounds of Dynamite, are still 0-1. They drop a spot at number 6. Also dropping a spot out of the top 5 is Kentucky State Mighty Marching Thoroughbreds Band, still at 1-0. They surprised everybody at the National HBCU Battle of the Band, competing against those FCS Division I programs, some of the more well-branded programs, but they held it on, so they got a win that weekend, but did not perform this weekend. Getting into the top 5, we have a new entrant. I told you about the FAMU not getting it done. Well, guess who did? That's the Sonic Boom of the South. So they come in at number 5 as they got it done in Miami. They were not ranked last week because they didn't perform, but they are in the top 10 and actually jumped in all the way at number 5. And number 4, Alabama State Mighty Marching Hornets. Tough competition with the Miles. Don't think this one wasn't close. But they get it done, score late in that game, and close it down at the victory as they go to 2-0 early in the season. One first place vote. Can they hold on to a top 5 finish? But they are here now at the early part of the season. And number 3, Southern Human Jukebox, 1-0, 2 first place votes. They got that ranking the first week based on what they did in the national battle of the bands. And number 2, Prairie View A&M, the Marching Storm, 2-0. They also got it done. They did a double dip. You had the fact that the football team won the game and the band. This one was close. They got it done nip and tuck in terms of the Ocean and Soul was right there with them. But they found a way to get it done in terms of that. They have 2 first place votes. Hold on to number 2. And number 1 is still the Bethune-Cookman Marching Wildcats, a 1-0. 3 first place votes. They lost the first place vote, but they are hanging on at number 1. And that'll do it for week number 1 in the Marching Sport poll ranking. For everybody that doesn't realize the Marching Sport, let me tell you here. But I know a lot of y'all get excited about the fact that your band is popular. You get to vote in the poll, and you do these voting polls, and y'all collide, and y'all get everybody to go vote. Y'all send out these emails and go vote. This is not that kind of poll. This is a marching sport. This is what I was told. That HBCU bands were a marching sport. Where I've been, when you have a sport, there's a winner or lose. Yeah, I know soccer, they have draws, but we're not talking about that. Even in the American style of soccer, they have win. They go to overtime. They make sure somebody scores, shootout, or whatever. There's no more draws in it. Marching sport, we don't have no popularity contest. There's a winner and loser. So based on what people talk about, what they say, I want to know who won, not in terms of who was loud, who got popular, who did a nice step here, who's dancing, who won the contest. And the only way you can do a contest is mean your band is out there traveling to games. So if you're sitting at home and just playing at home, you're not going to be in this poll. And if you are in the poll, you're going to fall out real quick. That's not my fault. Go get a budget. Go talk to your folks. Get on the road. Get a budget. Figure it out. Go talk to your alumni. Tell them all these band folks out there, they doing pretty well from the job. Have a nice job. Tell them to send some money back. Make sure y'all can go on the trip. Get on the bus. I know there's some talk about how long y'all ride the bus. That's a different conversation. That's my fault. We'll work on that also. Different conversation. I'm not here for that. Let's get into our second break, and we'll come back with some games of the week. Thank y'all guys for letting me get that off my chest. I know y'all have some comments. We'll bring you back next week. We'll take a little longer dialogue. Let's get back to the second half of the show. We'll be right back after this break.
Bounty versus the old family dish towel. Drying with a fresh sheet of Bounty leaves your hands cleaner than a used dish towel that can carry and redistribute food residue. So ditch the dish towel for better hand hygiene. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
One bite of 100% Angus beef ballpark Frank, and you'll say, hello, summer. Oh yeah, it's ballpark season.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless. Pick something we all like.
Okay, hold on.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you. All of you.
Press the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Brian Fulford and Mike Washington. Let's get into some of these major division MEAC matchups, games of the week. We're gonna start with the MEAC. This happens to be a MEAC SWAC matchup, though. An old MEAC game with now, obviously, with Bethune-Cookman Wildcats in the SWAC. This becomes a MEAC SWAC challenge, if you would. It's in Daytona Beach, Florida, Daytona Stadium. For those that know the history of this game, realize that this game goes back and forth, long history. Last couple of years until last year, the road team was actually winning the games. Now the home team won last year with South Carolina State getting it done Bethune-Cookman. Does it go back to where the road team wins, which would be necessary for currently the number 2 South Carolina State Bulldogs? I know Mike has some concern with that ranking, but that's currently what it is. And South Carolina State is 0-1. Bethune-Cookman is 0-1. So somebody's going to get the first win of the season. I'm going with you first, Brian. What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup? 3 o'clock game on ESPN Plus.
Well, having watched a little bit of both teams, and I would say outside of the first quarter, that's all I really needed to watch because everything else was a disaster for both teams, right? I was really impressed with the speed offensively of Bethune-Cookman from their receivers. Jalen Jones looked good. I think this is Bethune's opportunity to win a game, wake up, start the SWAC season, or really start the HBCU season off right. That preseason game against Miami, we pushed that aside for them. But this is a real test for them in terms of two teams that, who looked ready to play on Saturday last week or their first game. I thought Bethune was the team that looked more prepared and ready to play. So I expect a close contest, probably be within a touchdown or so. But I got it sometimes kills me to say this, but I got Bethune winning this one.
Mike, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I typically go with you look at both teams, and B is right. South Carolina State, they dropped the egg against UCF, and then look at what Bethune did against Miami. But if you have to look at it, I'm gonna go with defense. I think South Carolina State still has that defense, and I'm gonna go with the Bulldogs again. When it comes to HBCU play, you number one until you knocked off the block. So, and their defense eventually in the last half of that game came with it. So I'm gonna go with the Bulldogs on this one.
Yeah, a lot of people were gonna have the favor of the Bulldogs in terms of what they were able to close out the season last year. But I like what Brian said. If there is a chance for Bethune-Cookman to make a statement early in the season to talk about they are back where they were pre-COVID, this is the statement weekend. If they make this, boy, you talking about open up some eyes, and it starts to change the narrative maybe a little bit in terms of the MEAC SWAC Challenge. Is it a year late where everybody thought about where the SWAC trajectory was in terms of the MEAC? Kudos to the MEAC getting it done in terms of the big name game, but obviously they lost the one early today. But this is another chance for a MEAC SWAC matchup. So I'm interested in that. So great points made by both you all in terms of that. Let's get into the second major game of the week, which ends up being a non-conference game. It's Prairie View at number 5 travels and is at Abilene Christian Wildcats. So while this is a SWAC game, it features an independent matchup with a non-conference matchup, I should say, with WAC. Abilene Christian, who comes in 1-0 and 1-0 in conference play. They previously played Lamar, another team that Prairie View has on the schedule. They play Lamar at home later in the season. But obviously we talked about Prairie View getting a win over Texas Southern. And they go on the road. That is a 7:00 kickoff for the WAC. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in this matchup. I'm going to start with you, Mike. What are your thoughts in terms of Prairie View traveling on the road? Can they get that elusive victory for HBCUs and the SWAC specifically against a non-conference FCS HWCU opponent?
So as much as I'd hate to say it, I'm going to say that Prairie View made that defense was awfully tough. That run game was very strong. We did what we didn't see, and that was by design and by draw, was the passing game of Prairie View A&M. So if you look at it, Abilene Christian, they topped Lamar 28-14. They outgained them almost by a factor of, a tenfold on the ground. So you're looking at a strong Abilene Christian team that's coming in the game. You got to travel on the road. If this game was played neutral or played at Prairie View, I'd give Prairie View a puncher's chance. But until I see that passing game, that vaunted passing game with Trayvon Conley and the Prairie View offense, I'm going to give the edge to Abilene Christian. Prairie View does have that defense was phenomenal. The key will be, can that phenomenal defense do the same thing, repeat their performance in week 2 against Abilene Christian on the road, a team who runs the ball and passes the ball well. They have a balanced offense.
Brian, what do you say about this matchup? You have so many people that talk about these non-conference matchups. Is this the one? Oddly enough, people may not have realized because Prairie View's been in the middle of the pack until they ran out there last year and came out of the Western Division and played for a championship. But two of the last couple of FCS victories actually come from Prairie View. One beating Houston Baptist last year, had a close game with Sam Houston, could over the hurdle. Obviously, Incarnate Word kind of took it to them, but they were in a couple of those matchups. And then several years ago, they actually beat Stephen F. Austin. What are your thoughts in terms of this? Is this the one that Prairie View can get done, or are we going to wait for somebody else to find a way to beat FCS, historically white collar?
Hey, I hope that the folks in the conference, after they hang up the phone with Terry Sims and say, hey, Terry, we need you to go ahead and win that game, they didn't pick up the phone and call Coach McDowell and say, hey, McDowell, Coach McDowell, we need you to win this one because we let two slip away last week, and this is the week that of all these potential blowout games, these are the two SWAC games that the conference needs. Like Mike said, man, that rushing game was so nice, so pretty, so dominating. Look, if you can do that again, forget passing, Mike. I mean, why pass? If you're putting up those kind of numbers, use the pass as a break, as a water break. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just keep running the ball until they prove to stop it. And so I hope that Prairie View can repeat because I want to believe. I saw what I saw. And I think this game will go a long way. I believe Christian is rated now, according to the metrics, rated about 25 spots higher than Prairie View. So we talk about evening the playing field and moving Prairie View up the ladder. They get this win, and they're going to be there.
I'm going to give you a chance because you wasn't on here Tuesday as I had Charles and Mike talk about the Tennessee State-Jackson State game. You had a chance to be right there front and center and see Jackson State. So I want to get your perspective of what do you think about this, what we call the classic matchup of the major division. Again, we talked about on Tuesday. So Mike won't follow up on this as we'll take a break. But I did want to get into your thoughts on that matchup since you had a chance to really watch FAMU and Jackson State. What are your thoughts on that classic matchup between Tennessee State and and Jackson State, excuse me. I'm sure y'all wish y'all could get that game back again in Atlanta or Tennessee State coming to the conference. Oh, never mind. Did I say that? Let me not throw that out there because people get real hot and nervous. Sorry about that to Dr. Mickey Allen. I think he wants to stop all that. But anyway, the last version of what everybody's saying of this Jackson State, Tennessee State, Southern Heritage Classic. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
So looking at what those analysts that Coach Prime has brought into Jackson State and all that film work that all those analysts did in making us look like as some poster, I don't know where and what board I saw. He said we look like FAMU high. That's basically what, and so I don't disagree with that sentiment, and that's what they did. They sliced us up, they made us look real ordinary. Jackson State's going up against a Tennessee State defense that gave up 5 touchdowns to Eastern Washington. As good as Tennessee State played, they did give up 5 touchdowns. Here they are going up against Shedeur Sanders, who just threw 5 touchdowns. There's a potential that they could pick apart this Tennessee State defense in all kinds of ways because that, I will say, Tennessee State had to show something against Eastern Washington. So I got Jackson State winning this contest. It may be close just because I don't think you can repeat that perfect performance. I mean, literally that almost was a perfect performance by Jackson State. It's hard to repeat that 2 weeks in a row. So I got Jackson State winning. It may be within a field goal, but I don't know how Tennessee State's going to overcome all of the extras that Jackson State has. And they're working with a lot from experience, technology. People just don't understand what we're dealing with. It's ridiculous right now.
Right. I tend to agree with you. Shout out to Jay Walker and Tiffany Green as now they have a segment in terms of HBCUs on the college football live broadcast they do on ESPN. And it certainly looks like Jay Walker is a believer. He did his top 5, starting with FAMU at 5. I'm going to have to talk about it and make sure to give some love to Prairie View. He had Southern in there in terms of what was going on. Obviously, in terms of those matches, South Carolina State. But he had Jackson State as number one and put on the hat. You know, kudos in terms of him putting on the hat. There's a lot of credit there. You know, I don't know if I put it on. I did that before, but, you know, I'll make sure that Charles Bishop understands we got respect there in terms of that. So don't want to give him too much love there and get him out there. We put it up there. But with that being said, I want to shout out to Jay Walker in terms of their opportunity with Tiffany Green. Good show, good progress in terms of getting HBCU content in there. I think everybody's talking about it. Eddie George was on there in an interview. He talked about how tough he thought that matchup would be. How much of that is coach talk? Well, no. Let me get into our last break, and we'll come back and give you some mid-major updates, and we'll look at some of these CIAA and the SIC matchup in terms of what's going on that side. Stick with us. We white back after this last break.
Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember they can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft.
Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go, why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service with Slow Burn. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge featuring a meticulous curated collection of premium cigars. It's more than a mobile lounge. It's an environment and an experience rich in history, luxury, and personality. An elegant extension of any celebration occasion. It's the perfect escape and meeting place, a space where you can relax or enjoy a shared passion. Have Slow Burn plan your next big event, or before you are planning to celebrate your win over your athletic rival, you can shop our collections at www.slowburnwaco.com.
But if they want to tab, I'ma do the dab, yeah. Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, yeah, and who the ball, So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Charles Bishop is out on assignment. I think he's doing his pregame work. I'm gonna dock him some of his grade, or at least some of his pay. But anyway, I think he's getting so much check over there, he don't even shut up, as some people used to say back in the day. I don't think he even minds. But we do have Brian Fulford, and that is Brian and AD of Sports Raps, bringing us and giving us some great insight. We're going to go into the mid-major level. If you hadn't checked out the Sports Rap for whatever reason, check it out, because they give a great deal of information. As we would say in a lot of ways, a lot of love to the mid-major programs with coaching interviews, as well as breakdowns of what we call on this show the mid-major division, which is the NIA and NCAA Division II programs. Nothing like I've seen out there before. So make sure, if you have an interest of catching all of your HBCU on that kind of level, that you tune in to Sports Rap with Brian and AD. So we're going to get in here and get into some breakdown this major. Let's go on to CIAA. For everybody that doesn't realize, the SIC is actually 2-0 against the CIAA. And just to keep count, you know, I like to do those conference-to-conference head matchups. We're going to start and go with the CIAA with the Down East Viking. There's another game that we talked about Tuesday, so we'll see can SIC continue to trend. But now we just have a conference matchup. Down East Viking Classic, Rocky Mountain, North Carolina, Rocky Mountain Athletic Complex. This is a Saturday, September 10th game, I should say. This Saturday, as you know, at 3 p.m. Elizabeth City State Vikings are 0-1. Lincoln, Pennsylvania Lions are 0-1. Somebody's going to get their first victory of the season, which is always big. I'm going to go to you, Mike, first. Tell me, what are your thoughts on this matchup between the Lincoln, Pennsylvania Lions and Elizabeth City State Vikings?
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna step out on the wild side. I'm gonna pick Elizabeth City on this one. I think they've been off and on over the past few years. Their running game has picked up a little bit. I'm gonna go Elizabeth City on this one.
Good points. I like where you're going there. Let me go to you, Brian. What are your thoughts in terms of this match?
Well, I've got to go right there with Mike. ECSU. Now, last year it was a close contest, right? 19-13. The year before, they actually 2 years before, because obviously you can't say the year before, that was the COVID year, 2020. But the year before that, Livingstone had actually snapped what was, I believe, like a 6-game losing streak. And I mean, they had lost not even like 2-3, it was like 4 touchdowns every year in those 6 years that they lost. And so you have the COVID year, you come back, you end up losing by 6. So I don't know. I mean, are you telling me that now all of a sudden Livingstone is competitive? I don't know. I'm going to go ECSU. I'm going to go with the team that's won it over the last 7-8 years, majority of the time.
Great breakdown. I like where you're going there. And this is the Northern Division about the Southern Division. The Northern Division then has had the upper hand, but that's usually with Bowie, Virginia State, and oftentimes even Virginia Union, and to some degree Shawan. But this is a little different beast. So it'll be interesting to see, can the North continue to dominate like they do, or does the South get a chance to step up and make a statement? Our last major division, mid-major division, game of the week is out of the SIAC. This features a top 10 team. This is in Jackson, Tennessee, Lanefield, SIAC, Saturday, September the 10th, 2:00 p.m. It's number 6 Benedict Tigers. They're on the road, 1-0 to Lane Dragons. This is a Lane Dragon that fought really hard against Pine Bluff. And a lot of people were saying that wasn't so much about Pine Bluff not playing well, but Lane has a very strong team. I want to hear what Brian says first about this matchup in terms of number 6 Benedict going on the road to a very tough team. Can they continue to do what we saw last year, which is where the Beast was not in the West, it was in the East, where the East dominated a lot of the games against the West. Will this continue, or will we see something different this weekend in this matchup, Brian?
Doc, I got to say, I'm disappointed in your pollsters here. This is a top 10 matchup. I mean, there's no reason why Lane went up against a SWAC opponent, right? And they lose by 6 points to a SWAC opponent. They put 42 points up on the board, and somehow they didn't even receive votes. I mean, what are y'all doing out there? I mean, they lost to UAPB. UAPB is like next to Valley, predicted to be the second worst team in the SWAC. I mean, all respect to UAPB, right? That's like what they voted. I didn't have nothing to do with that. I'm just saying that's what the voters said. That's what the voters said, not me. So my point is, Lane, Benedict, these are two teams that I actually felt like, going back to the SIC Media Day, these are two teams that should be in the running to win a title. This is the first matchup of the season, which is going to help shape what happens. I mean, who's going to potentially take the seat from Albany State? Good luck with everybody trying to do that. But for Lane, this is their chance to step forward in the Western Division and actually make their first statement. So I like both of these teams, Doc. I don't, this is where's this game at? Benedict?
Yeah, it's on the road. Benedict is on the road. It's in Jackson, Tennessee.
Yeah. See that right there may have to swing me by maybe a field goal, right? They always say when a game is close, home field is worth 3 points, maybe 2.5 at the professional level. So I'm gonna say 3 points, but I'm gonna give Lane a 3-point edge over Benedict in a very close ball game.
Oh man, this is interesting. I really like this matchup. I think this is one to keep your eyes on. To follow this however you can in terms of that matchup. But I want to see what Mike says. I understand what you said, Brian, about the top 10. One of the things that the poll rankings and the rankings do in our poll is you got to win. Other than, and Mike said this about the major division when South Carolina dropped a point. He said, man, if you don't win in these things, you're supposed to drop. So Lane got to win. Now if they win, they'll find a way in the top 10. But I do like the way you set that up. That's how you do marketing. Somebody's told you listen to the last. It's marketing. This should be a top 10 matchup. I like that. Good stuff. Mike, what are your thoughts in terms of this Benedict Tigers, number 6? on the road at Lane Dragons. Do we get the upset? Is this an upset city waiting to what happen?
Let me ask you a question. Did Benedict win their last game?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
And who did they play? Data point. who did they play?
They played the CIAA, man.
What team did they play?
I'm gonna let you tell it.
What team did they play, Brian?
What's it, ECSU? Wasn't it ECSU?
ECSU.
Yeah.
That's 0-1. That's the other matchup against Lincoln.
That's 0-1 right now. And they won. All right. So Lane played a potentially top, let's say 5-6 team in the SWAC and came within 6 points.
West?
Yes. No, SWAC West, arguably a top 3 team in the SWAC West, and played them within 6 points. So I'm going to go with Lane on the upset on the. If you even call it an upset, I'm gonna go with Lane.
Well, it's an upset by the ranking. Now
it's an upset by the ranking. I'm gonna go with Lane. All right.
Now, watch yourself. You know, I told you earlier, I get your mic. I'm gonna turn your mic off. You keep with all that jazz.
Okay. So I'm sorry. And where was that game played at? In Pine Bluff, on the road. Lane goes on the road.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I like the pick. I can see where you're going with the pick.
Lane goes on the road.
Yourself with my whole ranking now.
And you look at the yards, total yards, run and pass put on the board against Pine Bluff. Skylar Perry, one of the top quarterbacks in the SWAC, and Lane does that to him. I'm sorry. Lane might have the edge in this one from my perspective.
Yeah, we're going to show you a couple of pictures from today. Again, I want to shout out Dr. Leonard Moore. He's the endowed professor over here at Texas Southern University. This is one of his books of the Black Power, Civil Rights, and the National Black Political Convention of 1972. This is one of his multiple books. He has another book out there. I got a chance to come up and do a guest lecture for a class of 350,000, as you see in the students in there that we were talking about, HBCUs. And so I did the Dion effect that talked about what is taking place at HBCU sports.
I see you, Doc.
And you would have been proud of me, Mike. I put a lot of data in attendance, social media platforms, engagements, talked about TV media rankings. And I'll share this PowerPoint with you all. At some point, we'll probably do a presentation where we bring everybody in, discuss it in depth. So I won't share with everybody yet, but I will share the pictures. So if you're interested in the pictures, obviously follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'll put it out there, but I did want to shout out to Dr. Leonard Moore. I'll close the show with that information, and we'll have a chance to go to dinner. My brother's out here, Kwame Cavil. He actually played at University of Texas as I tried to recruit him to HBCU. And I did a study before I got into my doctorate program at the master's level thesis, where he shared it with some of his players. And I'll never forget that, because that was in my infancy of trying to figure out, what I was going to do at the research level. And wasn't quite, I was going to make that stretch to go and do a doctorate. But even at that level, I had an interest of studying HBCUs, marketing component, didn't quite know it at the level I know now. But in that study I asked, he talked about the fact that one of his interests was about, and several of the players talked about this too, was playing for HBCU, but he did not necessarily think that he could get the media attention. But that's obviously changing. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like in a lot of different factors. But I'll get a chance to go to dinner with him tonight. So it's always a pleasure to bring brother in with Dr. Leonard Moore. So I did want to share that information to let you know that what we do on this show in terms of sport business and bringing you a chance to talk and listen to the commissioners, listening to athletic directors and coaches. We do it from a different perspective in terms of business and the relationship there, but it's a studied research on the business and the academic side where we're actually doing research. And it's respected in the industry, not only from the HBCU, but folks outside of that sees the level of research that's going in, and people want to understand and hear that. So I wanted to share that perspective with you. So I wanted to say thanks to all the lab listeners out there that provide us their time and energy to give us a platform to be able to share our thoughts on that. So Didn't necessarily get a chance to shout you all out like I usually do, but I know all the core listeners are here, so I wanted to take this time to say thank you. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for supporting BCSN, my JBN, my BCSN. Download the app. Make sure you continue listen and support all the different shows on the Black College Sports Network. You see the partnership that he's doing. And I mean, Roy, in terms of Urban Edge Network, HBCU League Pass Plus will continue as Roy does his thing to do that. But make sure you listen to Brian and AD on the Sports Wrap on Sunday. The Knights of the Round Table that often comes on Monday. That you continue to listen to us, as you know, Tuesday, Thursday, as well as Sunday. ONG Strike Zone, as we do on Wednesday. And don't be careful, we might find a platform for Friday. We're looking at putting in that plug so you can get something every day of the week. As you know, on Saturday, you're going to have Carlos Brown. That's what he does in terms of the Carlos Brown show, as we give you a full week, as well as giving you the weekend wrap up with HBCU Game Time that will start things off to give you the latest news of what you were prepared to watch. And then we close out things. BJ Jones will be back, I think debuting his week as he brings back the HBCU football on Sunday night. You have obviously 1876 Sports and Culture as a podcast, and they're moving to a video streaming platform. So check them out. We might bring them on the team. We're looking at bringing in HBCU Nightly over there to make sure that MEAC has some representation. So we're working. We're going to continue to stretch the envelope and give you some things, what's going on. Shout out to Blue Death Valley. Obviously, they're not part of the team, but they're doing some great work. So I wanted to shout them out in terms of what they get done. Joshua Sims of North Carolina Central, he was a guest on the show. So I wanted to close on that note and let you know that we're going to give you all the HBCU sports that you can get throughout the week. Please continue to support us. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta, Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. I did tell them in my presentation that you all have told me that I am the Dean of HBCU Sports. Shout out. Exactly. You know how we do it, Mike, in terms of letting these folks and representing and letting them know. And we did have a lot of representation. We have HBCU folks that are working everywhere. So a lot of them came in to support doing this area out of Austin, coming all the way from UTSA in terms of A&T folks. We had Grambling folks in the house that worked at UT, Houston Tillerson. All over the place. Obviously, FAMU student that's in graduate programs and things of that nature. So you got representation, Texas Southern Prairie View, as we do our thing. So just wanted to let you know what was going on there, that we are represented all over the place in different ways as we continue to get it done. Shout out to Rob Calloway that gave me the nickname in terms of Dean of HBCU Sports. I might bring back his segment and let y'all listen to it, make sure y'all understand where this is coming from. Again, want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock. Look forward to Sunday as we give you the bright and early news of what took place Saturday, giving you a breakdown. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. DrKenyatta Cavil. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube and Facebook. Shout out to G Boom Holly, as he's going to come in as previously being a band member himself and leading all of it. He's going to be starting to vote in the poll ranking. I'm waiting him to send me my stuff so I can add it to the data here as a drum major as he featured, and he says he know what he's talking about. Like, get the vote, man, win, loss. He's so used to doing the fan vote. I don't know what he's waiting. Dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Mike?
Of course.
Brian?
Lecture.
Dismissed. I see you, Mike. Cheers to you. Cheers to you, brother.